So, in keeping with tonight's theme, I wanted to give my reflections on the apology. As I stated before, I was employed by the Department of Health and Ageing in the Aboriginal Health Unit. And as a project support officer, I was given the opportunity to work with the organisation Link Up. And for those of you who don't know, Link Up is an organisation that was created for which is to reunite members of the stolen generation, and the apology was a direct result of the work that people within those communities. So with Link Up, I would work with those organisations to provide, one-off funding, which eventually turned into recurrent funding. One of the things that we assisted with funding was counsellors that would sit within Link Up. They would have psychologists that counsellors could debrief with. Link Up's reunification program, like the sole purpose of that is to assist Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who have been affected by the government's past removal policies, was to get them, link them up with their families, essentially. As I said before, as an Aboriginal person, I was ashamed to say that I actually had never heard of Link Up. And Aboriginal families, Aboriginal people, as Aboriginal families, we really, while we might not be touched by removal, there is somebody that we know who has been removed. And when I spoke to my grandfather, when I was doing university, I did an oral history project where I spoke to my grandfather, and he told me that he was married twice and both of his wives passed away. So as an Aboriginal man with children, and his second family was to a white woman, those children were at risk of being removed, and it was only because he lived on a property that his white employer actually intervened. He threatened the officials who came to the property with a gun. He said, if you take those kids, I'll kill you. And so it was only by, that man stepping in that our family didn't become one of the, the stolen generations. But the trauma of that still lives with the family. And it wasn't until I started doing stuff with Link Up that I realised the effect of it. You hear about stories of, the black car coming to where Aboriginal people lived, and, people scattering through the bushes. When my mother was married and she had kids, we were never allowed to open the door. If somebody came to the house knocking, you just had to pretend that you weren't home. My mother has told us that when with my older brother, she used to put him up into the roof of the house if somebody came knocking and she didn't know who they were. And he knew to be quiet. And so with that work, because I had to get an idea of what Link Up did, I actually got invited to some of the reunion phases are, the pre-reunion where they support you and they do all of that research to try and find out where your family is. Then there is the actual reunion. And the sad thing is that a lot of people don't get reunited with their families because sadly their parents died, or they have siblings that have died before they can be reunited. So often the reunions that they do are graveside reunions, which is really, really sad. And then the third part of that reunion process is the support, the ongoing support that they have to provide, that they need to provide to people who are going through that trauma. And part of that was I was invited along to they have a healing camps where people who have been removed, who have all of these similar experiences, shared experiences, come together and they debrief with each other. It's just being with each other. So having seen that and the important work that Link Up does, seeing that apology and, you know, having worked with organisations like the Cootamundra Girls Home and the Parramatta Girls and the Kinchela Boys, you know, seeing them in Canberra reacting the way that they did when Kevin Rudd apologised, it was just heartwarming because I understood why an apology, just, you know, 2 simple words, I'm sorry, meant so much to people. It really is healing. Thank you.